Hello and welcome to another Doctor's Assistant 1 video, and today I'm doing a video on my top 3 writers I want to see back in Series 11, or for Series 11 of Doctor Who. I think a little bit, well, not a disclaimer, I don't know, a bit of a response to my previous one that I did, which was my top 3 monsters I want to see come back for Series 11. I received a comment sort of saying about, everything should be new, which is totally fine. I respect that opinion. And just because I'm making these videos that are things that should carry over, this isn't me just sort of saying, nothing should ever be new in Doctor Who, and that I think, and just because I'm saying, you should have things carry over, it doesn't mean that then you could just get, I'm not then opposed to bringing new things in or getting rid of those things that we've just had, if that makes sense. So, for example, if you kept Capaldi's awesome sonic screwdriver, that's kind of really grown on me, for Series 11, but then, you could get rid of it in Series 12 or 13. I'm not saying just because I want these things to come back in Series 11 that, I'm just saying, okay, that's it, these are, monsters that should come back again for Series 11 and I'll come back in Series 11, 12, 13, so on and so forth, Just because I want things to carry over, it doesn't mean that I'm opposed to change happening in the near future for Doctor Who, Doctor Who thrives on change, but the thing is, a lot of Doctor Who is not always just rehashing the same thing, but sometimes as well with the fact that you're a time traveller, I guess, as the character the Doctor is, it's finding or seeing it from another perspective. It's adding to the mythology. I don't think you should just retell a story like, say, Chris Chibnall retelling, Hungry Earth and Stolen Earth, or whatever it was called, that Silurian two-parter. Just felt like Doctor Who and the Silurians, but add to the mythology of those monsters, and that's what having them back again would allow. But my top three writers, I think another disclaimery thing before I fully get into this would be that I'm not including Mark Gatiss in this because I'm not saying... I think his last piece of work was really, really good, to a point where I personally feel as though that would be the perfect send-off for him, and leave whilst you're on a high note, Stephen Moffat somehow pulled it out of the bag and, left on a high note with The Doctor's Fall, in my opinion. And I think Mark Gatiss should do the same, so that's why I don't think he should come back for Series 11, because more than likely, for me personally, I feel like whatever he'd write to try and follow up that, and that, it'd just be too... It wouldn't work for me, because I think Empress of Mars is a really, really good story from Mark Gatiss, and I think, as I say, for him to write a story that's supposed to somehow one-up that, I think for me it just wouldn't work. And I think he's a very Marmite writer in the sense that you either love his story or you really hate it. I don't ever really see that many people online or anywhere for that instance really sort of saying, oh, this Mark Gatiss episode was okay. I mean, I can only think out of his portfolio and or filmography of sorts in terms of Doctor Who. The only two that stand out to me that are okay are maybe Victory of the Daleks and Robots of Sherwood, and that the rest are either really shit to me or really good. There's no real middle ground, so that's why I haven't included him in this list. Another thing is, again, I think a lot of people might say, oh, well, we need all new writers. Well, we already kind of know that, which is fine, and I respect that opinion, but I think we already kind of know that there's going to be a recurring writer, and that being Chris Chibnall, so, you could have Chris Chibnall and, I don't know, Mark Gatiss and, hypothetically, Robert Sherman. I know he's never going to write for the show again, but, those three people, but yeah. So in at number 3, I would say, for me, would be Toby Whithouse. I know his last entry into Doctor Who was very it was very much come under criticism and scrutinised by a lot of fans. And I think the elements were decent. I think the execution was what let it down. And I think as well that I would say is the same with his previous work, or one of his previous stories, Vampires of Venice. I think those are the two weakest stories he's ever done for Doctor Who, personally. And I mean, in the Under the Lake Before the Flood commentary, he sort of almost tread on thin ice. See what I did there? Because he almost tread on thin ice, because he said in the commentary he kind of prefers the two-parters and they're better because you don't have to, Deus Ex Machina, the sonic screwdriver-y type thing. But he didn't obviously say that bluntly and out there like a statement, because the BBC would probably be like, well, fuck you, you're not writing for Doctor Who again. And I think he has the potential to really sort of write some really interesting stories still. And I think he's one of my favourite writers for the show. He's been writing it since Series 2, but then Series 3, 4 and the specials he didn't write anything. Series 5 he did. Series 6 he did. Series 7 also. Series 8 he didn't, but then Series 9 he got a two-parter finally. And then, yeah, Series 10 he wrote an episode. So, I mean, considering that the amount as well he's written, and for me personally to say that there's only really 2 that I really don't like, and even then they're still better than quite a lot of other Doctor Who episodes. All the themes are there, it's just the execution and the timing and the way the elements don't cohesively gel together is the problem. I think the ideas are good, but yeah, it's the cohesion that just didn't work. Is really saying something. In at number 2 would be Sarah Dollard. I think she's a really good writer. I think she has potential to grow, and seeing as she's a female writer, I think she would get, or not get, but love writing and be able to get inside maybe the head of the this iteration and this characterization, maybe head more, maybe. I don't know. Maybe that's sexist of me to say. I don't know. I'm not trying to be sexist, but by saying that. But no, I think she's a real fan. She's really passionate about the show. She takes care in the nuances of like little bits and pieces of things that she just entails and puts in there. She's very delicate with the show, but also ambitious with the show. She doesn't take no risks because she loves the show, but she takes risks because she loves the show, I think. Or risks within the limitations of being just a writer and not a showrunner, I guess. As she's written Face the Raven, which, is a really good story, and then Thin Ice as well, which was a really good story. She's proven herself to really be able to write companions as well really well, and both being obviously female, so I can only imagine what she'd be like, as I say, writing for the new 13th Doctor and that. But number 1 for me would be Jamie Matheson, however you pronounce his second name, because of late anyway, he is one of the more recent writers for Doctor Who, as is Sarah Dollard. I think Toby Whithouse is probably the only one who's stuck it out the longest out of the 3 writers that I actually picked. I think Jamie Matheson, the Boneless, phenomenal, Bad Guys, really made a sort of Earth story really gripping and really interesting to me, even if it was set in a sort of dull, sort of just typical Earth setting. Really innovative, as I say, monsters, really used and made the Doctor come across as though he was a scientist, really understands Doctor Who and the complexity of it, I think. And Mummy on the Orient Express. I think the only one that I'm not a big fan of is, of course, the Series 9 episode, but you can sort of pin that, ideally, hopefully, on Stephen. And to say out of like 4 episodes there's one bad one, that's really not saying, that's a good track record. And I think as well Oxygen is a superb story, and I think he just gets science fiction really, and he's a really sort of passionate sort of writer. He comes across as though yeah, he really wants to write for the show. He comes across as though he's a fan. He loves writing for it. You know, much like myself, I think. I think out of the 3 writers, 2 of them are very sort of monster orientated, which is great, but also get the nuances and the finer details of character development, whereas I think Sarah Dollard in particular very much gets the world building and the characters well. Maybe not so much the monsters, maybe, but I don't know, I mean, a third outing could show maybe whether or not she's good at writing monsters or coming up with a monster idea and or alien, but you know, all 3 writers are really good, and I'd be happy if any one of these 3 writers were to come back. So yeah, and we already know, as I say, like Chris Chibnall's gonna write more than likely an episode or 2, so it's not out of the ordinary to think, you know, that they might get a few people to write for the show again, because you know, you might as well, seen as Doctor Who's such big sort of thing for the BBC, you know, from their perspective, why take a risk when you could just sort of say, you know, here's this writer who wrote, you know, this story X amount of time ago, it was a good story, it was well received, it got good viewing figures, let's bring them back, even if Chris Chibnall might have conflict with that, I don't know. But thanks for watching, comment, rate and subscribe. Please do tell me in the comment section who you would like to see back for Series 11 in terms of writing for the show. I'd be very interested to see that. So yeah, thanks for watching and bye.